Swear. I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's anyone that wants privilege of the floor. No one's there. There. Review of financial reports. John sent them out to everybody.
Yeah, sent out, and I sent out an updated version, because like I said, we were kind of a little behind in journal entries. And so going through the packet, there are you're gonna see some budget adjustments that will be needed on the next board meeting. We've got the planning board stenographer, Kareem, so her salary line is slightly in the negative. That's done as an estimate of how many hours she's gonna work as a part-timer, knowing that she is working a little bit more to fill in certain areas. It is next year's budget does take that into account, more hours. But Lindsay has went through some of these to help me figure out funds, and we do have sufficient funds in other personnel lines for vacancies that we have throughout the year and such. So we'll fill that line up probably from the MS4 code enforcement position, because that was vacant for much of the year. Our medical buyout line is in the negative. It says we can transfer from our medical insurance fund.
Yeah, so it's all basically all in the same, I guess you would want to call it like a bucket. So we have enough money to transfer over to offset that cost. Since someone obviously opted for the buyout versus insurance, creates that balance.
Yeah, and this is one of those areas that next year will be more efficient because all of those funds are under the same parent account itemized, so.
But that's still only $1,100, right?
Yeah, 1,100.
But it'll be more because that is given in the paychecks, so there's 4 more pay periods. So I did anticipate that with the adjustment that we'll be requesting.
Is that we're buying out one person or multiple?
There's multiple
Yeah.
people. We just had an additional person.
Go to buyout.
Yes.
Yeah. Which in the long run is probably
It is
fiscally better for us, if you look at it that way.
So we'll have a budget transfer of 3,700 about that for.
And that should be
Cover the rest of the year.
pretty precise.
Okay. The general repairs wages on the updated one, that actually zeroed itself out after some journal entries, but we don't believe there may be an error somewhere that we just gotta figure out. So
Long story short, with that particular line, there are funds, it's just in the snowplow wages line. It's just a matter of just correcting an entry.
obviously, you guys know the machinery contractuals are always in the negative if they start at a zero balance. And they pull from the parent contractual line.
So if you're online, this is the budget report you sent out yesterday, not the one you sent out.
This is, so I'm going to the first one, because the one I sent out yesterday, just those two show zero now, but they
Right.
probably shouldn't. So I'm going through the original one that I sent.
Okay.
But it's only those two that
Yeah.
are changed. Everything else looks the same between the two
You
reports.
want this back?
Nope, we're good.
What page you on now?
9. So on the new one I sent out, you won't see this because it now shows zero, but there was a negative 3,867 in the under HSA account for the highway line that will have to see what adjustment was made that and potential error, but we will have to probably add some funds in there for the next board meeting as well. That one we're not sure of, potentially within those same.
I'm sorry, John, I didn't look at it. I don't know how to answer.
Yeah,
that.
no, that's
I
okay.
didn't look at it yesterday.
Well, there's an $893,000 deficit
Think what?
on the highway surplus on DA 100.
That's gotta be revenue. That comes over from, tax. Sales tax collected. To. Usually throughout the quarter, usually the first quarter, highway gets fully funded. To pay the bills, and after that, it starts to go to the general.
It's listed as an expense, but the income would come from the other side.
I don't know, 890,000. What line are you looking at? Highway surplus, you're in so you're in revenue lines.
I think it's expense.
No, that's your
Expense
expenses
is right above that.
Expenses above it, these here,
Surplus should be negative. Because that indicates revenue.
yeah, so that's a good thing to be negative, that's okay. We haven't spent the rest of that this year,
So
so,
good.
yeah, we're okay.
But when I see like 4,000%.
Yeah, no,
It's like, what?
Yeah. It's a little confusing with the negatives and the revenues.
We're okay.
And that was it really, obviously, when you go through the capital lines are always gonna be negative because they get. Drawn from elsewhere, so. So not too bad, few lines, so just so you guys are aware, I am, and obviously we do have Deb here now. Who we're gonna start working through, we're gonna sit down our list, we're up to like 5 pages now probably. Of things we've been kind of keeping track of, absent of finance clerk, things that we're trying to do, that we're keeping note, just to kind of have checked up on. But also things that we haven't been able to do, but we're, but at least keeping track of it, knowing that we do have to do these things. And I do have a phone call today at 11 with our auditor service, and I'm gonna make a request and see if there's something they can provide us if we're able to do kind of an off contract. Short-term audit of our journal entries, the finances, everything for the last, month that's
Yeah,
just gone.
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure,
that's probably a good
They're
idea
getting-
to protect.
yeah, I don't know if they're gonna be willing to do that, but I'm gonna ask and see what it would cost us to kind of have them come in and just take a
Well,
look at everything.
I mean, we can vote on that, but I think that's something.
Well, I think we all should,
Yeah, I think
and
we
that
should.
gives us a good baseline
Yeah.
for you, so we
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
that-
don't want them starting with,
Right,
trying to
like-
all jacked up.
Like, what's going on here?
It's just a
So,
good
yeah,
baseline, and then we know that if there's anything else we need to put back together or
Right.
adjust,
right,
then it's a new floor and away we go.
Yeah, Jess has been helping out, some hour in the evening here and there on the weekends, kind of going through and checking things, but obviously, this,
mhm,
she can't keep up with it all either with her other
right.
jobs, so.
So Deb, one of the responsibilities again is to take notes at this meeting, so you'll provide those eventually, but not today, so yeah.
Okay,
We're going minutes free for a couple of,
Yeah, we didn't have that minute
Right.
from the last meeting.
it's enough on that, we'll survive that.
We have the recordings.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So. Okay, so that's the financial reports. I do have. So the typical memo that Jess does too, that also shows the expenses and revenues and the checks that were received, and once, I'll send that out afterwards. Tammy just put together some of the checks that were received for me. I got this morning, but I don't think she's done the bank reconciliations yet. Because, the statements just came in, just posted to our accounts yesterday, so all the October statements. So I got all those over to her yesterday, late afternoon. So once I confirm that she completes the bank reconciliations, I'll send out that other report that Jess usually does. And actually, sometimes she doesn't have it because, for the same reasons, because those bank statements
Oh,
don't
come in, right?
come in, as soon as we'd like them to.
Any other questions on the reports? Budget transfers.
Yeah, so other than what we've kind of gone through here, there's a couple ones I just want. Guys to take note on that. I'm probably gonna have to do and just pull up my. Spreadsheet. Nothing here. There is one, just we gotta increase a purchase order for our copier services, so you'll see. that come through. And that's just when we're making copies, we contract for a certain amount of overages, and then, you know, once we make more copies, we end up going over. We've got,
Should we buy a bigger amount, or how often do we go over?
it ebbs and flows, so like last year, we didn't go over. I think in the budget for next year, maybe we slightly increased it. But again, it also. This is where consolidating those accounts comes into play, because though if we go over, now it's all lumped into another contractual parent account, so if we go over in that area, we're able to pull it from other like supply areas and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
so-
use water's example, like. We have to put out additional letters due to the stage 2
Right.
disinfection.
Right.
We don't know unless we're over each quarter.
Right.
So that would cause it, maybe we have a change in. I'll just say, water billing, we have to inform everybody about it. prior
Right,
to. There's just certain things in water that do,
kind of in, every once in a while it goes over.
goes over, and then it's not necessarily the general fund that has to pay for it. You could then see it by the printer that it was done for water, and then they could then make that
Right.
up in that account.
So when you say copy, you mean copier and printer though, all of our.
Yeah,
15
sorry.
units. Yeah. So just like in ordinance, when they're printing out those stacks of stuff.
Yes, that all comes out of
Yeah.
that same, that
Yeah.
same fund,
Yeah,
so. I have to, we're gonna have a transfer, so we're reimbursing, Tyler, our employee. Because his truck was hit by, one of our former parks employees, one of the works here. And he, you know, he just went and got an estimate, it was like $600, rather than going through insurance. It's more beneficial to us to just to provide that reimbursement. But you're gonna see transfer, because that really should reflect under our judgments and claims account line. And which has a zero balance, so we don't typically put anything in there unless we know we're gonna have judgments and claims. We actually have something for next year, but that's based on assessment stuff. And so I'm just gonna put the money where it belongs, in order to then pay out of that line to better track that expense. I think historically it's kind of been done through out of the contractual line, but that's not really the right way to do it, so I'm gonna just make sure we do it the right way. And then we'll have, well, those are the two specific ones, and like I said, anything that we came across in there. You know, in December, that's when we'll really potentially be getting more transfers based on, you know, end of the year expenses and where we're at.
so like on the agenda, like one transfer of the North Road tax levy, we're gonna do that in December.
So I don't know, those ones I'm not sure, so these are just the simple budget transfers, yeah.
Okay.
These are the more complicated ones that we get to, once we get to that item there, so yeah, for reserve funds and capital project actions. So these are all the things that we've been talking about through our budget preparation. And elsewhere, so. We discussed during the budget presentation that we need to take the tax levy from this year that was taxed for that North Road bond anticipation. Since we didn't have the bond yet until just recently, we didn't have to actually have those payments, but we should take that money that was taxed for those payments and put it into this bond indebtedness reserve. And that's part of that bonding strategy that I presented for budget. So either November, December, it's probably gonna be more likely December. But again, it's just things that I still kind of have to figure out the right way to do this.
We gotta have everything in this Friday, right?
Yeah, it came up quick, so I don't know if I'm gonna get it done by Friday.
So in all likelihood, that will be December.
Possibly, yeah, so I can even. Some of these I'll probably get through, I won't get through all of them so I'll probably try to split between November, December on getting these done. The resolution part of it, I think it's fine, that's the easy part, it's knowing after once we pass it, then figuring out those journal entries and stuff, and that's where also hoping maybe the auditor people can help us. The tax stabilization transfer to the retirement reserve, that's again, we've just discussed that multiple times, that's that. We have that tax stabilization reserve that we can't use for anything really unless the government cuts tons of federal funding from us, and then it's like an emergency fund. But the only other thing we can use it for is to pay our retirement benefits. And so it was decided by the board when after we discussed this, that we're in the 2026 budget, we're gonna cover the retirement with that reserve so that we were able to keep that budget number down. We were up like in a million with that tax stabilization, and that's the same one that the auditor said we were way too high in.
Right.
So spend that down a little bit to help keep the budget rate down. The solid waste reserve transfer, these again are things that were discussed in the budget discussions. So it's either this month or next, you'll see some resolutions to move that $250,000 to Seneca Point culvert project and then move 396 to Ananda Uplands. However, to do this, we gotta also create reserve funds and associated reserve funds and capital projects. In order to transfer the right way, move from one reserve to another reserve. We don't currently have an Ananda reserve fund, it's an ARP, and actually, we don't even have an Ananda project fund. It's the ARPA fund project that we have, so we probably should create an Ananda specific capital project. And reserve fund, and then that reserve fund will feed the capital projects.
Right.
So, again, that. Either be November or December, you guys will see it. The Complete Streets project, we discussed wanting to close that out, moving 100,000 to that bond indebtedness reserve again to accomplish the strategy I presented. And then the rest of it, because we have about 180 something thousand in there. The rest of it, I just need to investigate a little further on where those funds originated, because when you close out a project. The fund should first go to wherever they came from. I think 25,000 of that came from highway. I gotta find past resolutions and such to see what fed that account. Because those funds. Legally have to go back first to those lines, then after that,
Can put them in
where you want, but they have to first go back to those original accounts. So I don't know when that timeline is gonna be for that one. That's not an immediate need because we'll have enough in that bond indebtedness reserve to accomplish next year's part of that bonding strategy. But obviously I wanna do it sooner than later, I just gotta do some more investigation on that. And then I know I put this on here because we talked about it last meeting, I believe, just talked about it, snowplow capital project, but that's not done yet. Right now, that's another kind of TBD, I gotta sit down with Jim and understand where the meeting that he and Jess had. On where those funds are gonna come from, just to see how to create the resolution. But I just wanna make sure we're still tracking that one. And then I wanna create an elevator repair capital project for the funds that were transferred. To. The elevator repair, the modernization that we gotta do. Cause the PO right now that we have open for it. Doesn't cover. Doesn't include like contingency stuff that we're putting aside also. To fund this, we agreed on about the board agreed on 150,000. The PO right now is for like 117. So I wanna be able to create a capital project so we can encumber. The rest of that into next year, so we're not having to find that next year.
What's the status of that project?
So they ordered the parts, we're looking at probably. I think they said initially maybe January that some of those parts will start coming in.
So the work hasn't begun yet.
No, they gave me like a 22-week lead time on, once they ordered. The parts. Yeah.
What was the cost on that?
So the contract's for 118,000 and change, or man, I think it's 126 or something, cause we added an option for the. Be
Right.
able to call out from the
Right.
elevator, and then the rest of that, we put in up to 100, we allocated up to 150,000. To also account for any additional code changes that we have to make, that aren't accounted for in the contract, and then also obviously some contingency, because who knows what's gonna happen when they start messing with that thing. Yeah, so,
That really hasn't been touched, the guts of it. I mean, it's been
yeah,
nickel and dime, but not since 97, 96.
It's expected though, and really doesn't.
It's
Yeah.
expected, but.
it
Yeah,
does.
As soon as you start tearing into it, that's what I kind of worry about, you know? Like,
Tinkering
It
with it.
should be okay, people should, you know.
do we really need to call out? Can't we just yell? Help. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
A hammer,
You hear like,
a bell, couple
Yes,
bells.
you're Lindsay.
Rush up at him.
Yeah.
well, that was Sarah when she got started.
Oh, that's right, it was Sarah.
What that noise? Just her like banging on the inside.
So Deb, note to self, use the stairs, yeah.
I will be out of service.
Once they start, they, I can't remember the time frame they gave. Say 4 to 6 weeks, if I recall correctly. So that's why, once everything comes in, then they're gonna get at it, and they thought maybe around March timeframe is when they'll actually.
So handicap access will be drive around.
Yeah.
Nothing else we can do about it, yeah.
Yeah. So. So yeah, so that's it. So those are some of the things that hopefully between this month and next month, you'll start seeing on the agenda. If agreeable, obviously. And some other ones might be maybe into January or February. Working through.
Good. Any other finance related resolutions out there?
So I got the fee schedule on here, but that was before, cause codes updated their portion, but I decided to wait. Cause I sent it out to everybody.
Right.
And so I'm like, let's just wait until we get everybody's input, clerk's office. For other zoning.
So that might be January, right?
Parts. Well, so we'll pass it in January.
Right.
With the organizational meeting, but I wanna have it to finance
Ready to
committee
go, yeah,
in December.
yeah,
So our December finance committee, you guys should see the fee schedule to take a look at and recommend for. Or not for the organizational meeting, or make any changes you think we should. And then just a budget update, obviously, there's gonna be a resolution to adopt the 2020 budget on the agenda on the 17th. I did go through and make all the changes that we discussed at our budget workshop in the actual document. And so when I create the agenda, that will reflect on the agenda as the preliminary amended budget that you'll be considering for adoption.
But we need to adopt the 17th, right?
We have to,
You do,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah,
I mean, if you don't adopt it,
we have to have a special meeting for the 20th.
Right.
yeah, if you don't adopt it, it defaults to your last amended preliminary budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget, we do have that additional transfer that I sent out to everybody. Because of the salary adjustment,
the 19,000.
yeah, and that's gonna get moved
Yeah.
to the land acquisition line.
Right,
Yeah, so I apologize for that, I don't know, just the transpose number. Sorry, when you look at lots of numbers over and over, it happens.
I'm disappointed was the employee,
Yeah.
was a big swing.
Well, yeah, she knew what she knew what
Yeah.
her pay is gonna be, but, yeah, I don't know, no, it just was something. That was overlooked, but, so that. I've talked with Jared and he was gonna talk to you guys to put that extra into that land acquisition. So that puts that land acquisition line up to 109,000, you'll see in the preliminary amended budget. So,
Which allows us, we're still, the parcels that we've been looking at, the appraisals are still coming in, and the negotiating parameters of what the appraisals are gonna look like are still kind of being worked out. So we could have some expense there and still holding out on a property and looking for the Auburn Trail, which has had no movement on it. Spoke to a realtor yesterday. He said there's no, the sign's gone, I believe, like you said, but there's no movement on them coming back to reality with what they would like for that parcel.
Is it still under contract with the realtor, you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I got from the realtor was nothing, so I'll ask if it's still under, contract. So,
But they're not in the real world on them.
No.
Yeah,
No,
that's too bad.
if they were, that would be a perfect number for them.
Right.
so that's all I got for you guys. Any
That's
questions
it?
of us? That's it.
Anyone have anything else? Just budget meeting on the, or I'm sorry, the passing the budget on the 17th. Well, if there's no new business, the next meeting is December 3rd, 9 AM.
I will be proposing, hopefully. So next year, for supervisors meetings. Committee meetings will be the second week of the month. Rather than a 3-week cycle, so it was always a different week of the month. We're going to a monthly cycle next year. So my committee meetings, the Monday, Wednesday meetings will be on the second week, Board of Supervisors meeting will be the third week on that Thursday. So that might allow us to adjust some of the meeting schedule times if there's any conflict, but just to make everybody aware. Might be looking at hopefully adjusting if necessary.
Yeah, if we stick to committees of the first
First
full week of
Right.
the month, then that shouldn't conflict with,
Right, we should be okay.
yeah, so. December we'll have an actual week. Between committee meetings and town board meetings, so that'll be nice. So everything seems pretty set.
Right.
But I figured it's best just to keep it that everything the first week and then just have that extra week to prepare the town board. And
Just a motion to adjourn then.
So
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
This one's back upstairs mostly. I've
Yeah, I
got
know.
a prison right there.
Look at that, show it's happening, got their own.